Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about consent management when it comes to data privacy. To begin with, we'll have a quick recap on what data privacy is. It's my right to choose what personal information do I want to share, with whom do I want to share this information, and what is my purpose of sharing this information. What task is he going to complete for me? For completing that task, does he need to share my information with another third party? If yes, why and to what extent, right? And to accomplish all these things, has he taken my permission? And that taking permission is called consent management when it comes to data privacy. So consent management forms a very basic essential pillar for data privacy to be in effect. And data privacy brings in those rules and laws that help me protect my interest if in case I find my data being misused or wrongly shared anywhere in the environment. So understanding consent management becomes very easy. It is obtaining, documenting and maintaining my consent or your consent for first collecting your personal information, then processing that personal information, and then sharing that personal information, right? So for a given task, you need my personal information. You'll collect it from me, you'll process it to accomplish a result, and you may share it with anyone else to finally get the end result. You need my permission, and obtaining permission from me is known as taking my consent, and that is what is the concept of consent management. Now, what are the basic principles of consent management? Consent management is based on the principle of transparency. You have to very clearly tell me, why do you need my consent? What would you do with my data, right? You want my personal information. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to handle it? And are you going to share it further with anyone? You have to be extremely transparent with me and take my consent on it. I have the right to go granular in any subtask or sub-task and then choose whether I want to give consent for that subtask or sub-task or not. The consent is supposed to be well informed, absolutely clear to me that it is there. It should be in an explicit form. We call it explicit consent. For example, you make a web form and you say, I need to check mark on the individual line items, check boxes, tick box, tick, 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 or uncheck a few that I don't want to. So that consent has to be an explicit consent. I should be able to revoke my consent either in totality or in fractions, as I may decide from time to time. Right? So those are the principles of consent management. You have to be transparent with me as to what is the task, what are the subtasks, why you need my consent, how are you going to use my data, how are you going to process my data. You should be able to granularly show me and take my permissions on granular task and subtask. The entire process of collecting and processing and sharing should be well informed to me, so you should take an informed consent. It should be explicit for each of the task or subtask. There has to be a checkbox that I either select or unselect depending on whether I want to give consent or not. And at any point in time, if I want, I can revoke the consent back, right? So these are the basic principles. There are many advantages of it because it brings full control of my information with me. I choose what am I sharing and I choose for what purpose am I sharing it. Gives me security, gives actually you also a security, because then you are also sure how are you going to use my information. Empowers me to control my information and gives me that trust that my information is not going to get misused, or at least I know by clear documentation how is it going to be used, so that if there is a gap at any stage, then we can all look into it and resolve it, right? And it gives me a personalized preference to choose on a granular basis what is it that I want to allow, what is it that I don't want to allow. Fine. That is the benefit I get as an individual when you are collecting or using my information. Now you as a business, what is the advantage a business gets? It builds trusts. Its operational efficiency increases because now you know point blank what have you collected the information for, how are you going to use it, and how are you going to obtain the output of it. Whether you are sharing or not sharing, how are you getting the output of it? It improves your processes of handling personal information. It showcases your accountability. especially if you already documented and demonstrated that if there is something wrong, this is the way I have treated it, then it further adds to your accountability and helps you build trust from your customers that you are a safe place to work with. Of course, there are compliances and legal requirements that you meet. Data privacy is catching up like fire, and there are a lot of regulations all across the world that are controlling it. So that's another thing that is important, that by taking proper consent, well-informed consent, you are safe from legal perspective also. How do you obtain consent? Various ways. When you collect data from me, you need a consent. There could be a checkbox in front of the tasks, or if you are collecting a set of data points, a checkbox at the end that by providing you this information, I believe it would be used for purpose 1, purpose 2, purpose 3, and this is how those purposes would be accomplished, and I give my consent for this. Tick. Now it is my choice whether I allow you for purpose 1, for 2, for 3, or for all of them, right? These could be manual forms, these could be online forms, right? Application signups, these could be like one way to look at it is like credit card or loan application types. The other way is to look at it on the IT applications, right? You start using an application on your mobile phone or on your web, and then there's a consent form that you allow that application to collect your personal information from time to time for these purposes, and to allow you to provide such consent again if it is required, or if additional information is required for some other action or for some other purpose. Cookie consents, cookies are allowed in your system or not. Whenever you are enabling a subscription service based SaaS models, then again you need to provide consent on how your information is going to be used. Before processing any sensitive information, any business should obtain a consent from the respective user so that they are safe from themselves as well as for the user's perspective, that the personal information is being not misused, right? And from time to time, a business, when they update their service policies, when they update their privacy policies, they need to obtain a consent again along with the change that they have made in their privacy policies, especially if the changes are major changes, right? So these are the various ways how you obtain consent from your vendors, associates, customers, employees, anyone with whom you are dealing with, anyone whose personal information you are collecting and processing for any purpose, right? And a lot of consent management softwares are available these days where you can go, you look at, okay, this organization is collecting my information for these purposes. I decide what all do I want to allow my information for. For example, I have been using this example that, some people don't like their birthdays being disclosed to their colleagues, but organization says I will collect birth information, which is very, very basic thing. But if the consent management software allows me to uncheck celebrating my birthday or sharing my birth date with my colleagues, it could be my or anyone in my family, and I uncheck. That means now that organization is not going to publicize on the day of my birthday. That's my privacy, that's my right, that's the way I want to use my information, and that's the way I want the organization to use my information. This is all that I wanted to talk about initially on consent management. I'm planning a series of videos on consent management, so there is more content to come in the next few days. So do subscribe to my channel. If you like my videos, please press the like and bell button or share your feedback in the comments box. Thank you.